uncertainty is building around the future of where this team is going to play in the future. It's been about 18 months since I last spoke to St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman here in St. Petersburg about the ongoing plight of the Rays and the new efforts to build a stadium. And since then, it's been the best of times and the worst of times for fans.
That's pretty well hit into left. Back at the wall, and it is gone!
On the field, the Rays have never been better, going to the World Series last year and now stocked with top young talent this year to make another championship run.
Taylor strikes out, and the Tampa Bay Rays have even this World Series.
But off the field, the cloud of uncertainty about where this team will ultimately play and how often still lingers over the team, the city, and every Rays fan in Tampa Bay. All while owner Stu Sternberg is still actively pursuing a split-season concept, sharing the team with Montreal. Bring me up to date on what's been going on.
For this entire site, for all 86 acres, we are in a position where we have 4 finalists for a master developer to redevelop the entire Tropicana Field site.
When I last sat down with St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman in August of 2019, the Rays had just struck out on their efforts to secure a new stadium deal in Tampa and had just announced the idea of splitting the season with Montreal. This after years of record-low league attendance at Tropicana Field, despite consistently putting together a competitive team on the field. Now, 18 months later, at a giant interruption with a global pandemic, the mayor is finally able to narrow down 4 new plans to redevelop the Tropicana Field site. This seems like a real turning point for the city of St. Petersburg. I mean, this seems like something that would have the kind of impact that would last for decades and decades.
Yeah, I think this redevelopment has the opportunity to take us to a whole nother level. I mean, look, St. Pete's on an upward trajectory as it is, and what's happened here and the changes that have happened in the city are really remarkable. And you talk to anybody who's lived here for 20, 30 or more years, and they're like, wow, what St. Pete has become. But what we potentially can become with the addition of this site, to me, is remarkable.
This place that we want to create is everybody's place.
And what's more remarkable are the new visions for the future of St. Petersburg, spelled out in these highly produced videos from the 4 redevelopment teams currently making their pitches to the city. The companies are promising to build everything from a new convention center at a flagship hotel to offices, retail, residential buildings, and green spaces.
The land bridge is going to facilitate movement from our site back to Campbell Park and allows us to overcome the divide that was created by I-175.
But the biggest promise of all, new ideas to reconnect the city, including building land bridges over 175 that would essentially relink the site to its past, when it was once a proud, bustling center of life for Black residents, before the highway cut the community in half and forced many people to move out.
I was raised on third base. My house that I lived in was eliminated as a part of the redevelopment of Tropicana Field.
Life in St. Petersburg dramatically changed in the 1980s when the city first started pursuing its Field of Dreams strategy to build a stadium first in order to lure a team. And that chase ultimately came at the cost of putting off plans to build affordable housing and create jobs. A failed reckoning that left behind a bitter relationship between the city and the Black families who helped build it.
There were a lot of promises made on this site. The site has a long history, and the city never honored those promises. We have an opportunity to right those wrongs, to take care of those promises that weren't kept, to create those jobs and those opportunities and those places to live and those businesses that should have been here but weren't here.
Which is why Mayor Kreisman has refused to give up control of the property to the Rays. And it's also why he refuses to bend on asking taxpayers to pay for a new stadium if the team is only willing to play here part-time.
You know, they wanted total control because they want to use those funds to help them pay for a stadium, which means that they have to maximize the redevelopment that occurs on the property that they controlled. If they're maximizing it, housing that's affordable isn't going to drive your profits in the same way as building, luxury condos will. We need affordable housing in this community And I can't ensure it happens on this site if I give up control. The community's waited long enough. As I said, quoting Dr. King, justice delayed is justice denied. They want justice. They want what they were promised, and there's no sense in putting it off.
So that is where the ball sits right now. Two very different visions. One side, the Rays say they need more revenue and more fans and a bigger, newer stadium in order to survive. Owner Stu Sternberg is still in active talks with leaders up in Montreal and Canada, and reports are right now that those talks are progressing much faster than they are here in the United States in St. Petersburg. At the same time, the Players Union has a lot of questions about how exactly all of this is going to work, from compensating players now having to live in two different cities to very practical things like medical care, housing, even child care for those players who have families. And we reached out to the Rays front office. We have not heard back from them yet on the subject of their future here in St. Petersburg. Meanwhile, for the other side of the bay in Tampa, Mayor Jane Castor there tells us there's really nothing to talk about right now. Tampa was once seen really as the only real viable solution to this, and many still think ultimately it will be. But for now, all the momentum in these stadium talks has shifted back here to this side of the bay here in St. Petersburg. Right now, Mayor Kreisman and the City Council are actively in the process of narrowing down those 4 development plans that you just saw down to 1, and then they're going to pitch that plan to the Rays and the ownership team, hoping that they will see the promise of a new day in a new city, a promise that for many years and many generations